This program is part of the Cosmic Potato Podcast Network. For more shows like this, visit our website at cosmicpotatonetwork.com.
Watching television, watching television. Watching television, watching television. I need all the image, I need all the sound, I know the info right into my mind.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Trial by Pilot. This is the show where we judge an entire series of television and the work of hundreds on new episodes.
On one episode.
What happened?
Oh my gosh.
I totally had a brain fart during the middle of that, and then I was just staring off.
Is that what this podcast has been like since I've been gone?
Oh my gosh.
ashamed.
I think now that Casey's back here, it's thrown off the
so.
new equilibrium.
I think I was just getting lazy, and I just kind of turn off my brain and I just say it, because I
Yeah.
said it so often, but it didn't work that time.
Well, I think you probably got used to being super anxious having me around. Like, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? And then you kind of like fell into this like nice, easy.
Yeah, you've got me on edge again.
Yeah, good.
Casey is back.
What up?
Former longtime co-host, now wanderer, nomad, but he emerged from the woods today to
I did. I literally did.
record this episode.
I was literally in the woods like an hour ago, like putting animals' carcasses in my backpack. True story.
Cheers, everybody. Good to have you
Cheers.
back.
Cheers.
We are talking about Netflix's new show, Tribes of Europa.
Yeah.
Was this on your radar at all, Casey?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
I
seems
figured.
like a Casey
Yeah.
show.
Had you already watched it before I reached out to you?
So, you messaged me about a week ago to watch this, and the day before I had watched the first 5 episodes.
Aren't there 6 episodes?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I ended it because I'm like, it was like late at night. I'm like, okay, I gotta go to bed. I'll watch it tomorrow. And I woke up and you're like, hey, you want to come record it? And I'm like, sure. And you're like, oh, we're gonna do this, and then Tribes of Europa. I'm like, oh. I'm like, okay, cool. But I rewatched the pilot last night.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, I saw this was another foreign language show. We've been watching a lot of foreign language stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll probably talk either later or on the other episode about what else we've been watching. But he wasn't in the pilot, but one of my favorite characters from Dark, not my favorite characters, but one of my favorite actors from Dark, who was a piece of shit character, is in this.
Moses?
Yes.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
He's so good.
You got to go back and watch Dark, guys.
I might. It's on Netflix.
I was waiting. I wish I kept a tally
It's
of
on
how
Netflix.
many times you say
We're
mention Dark.
almost 2.5 minutes in. I'm surprised it took me that long to mention Dark.
Yeah, it's on my list. I'll watch it one day.
All right, let's talk about Tribes of Europa.
All right, what's that?
It starts with a little text on the screen. It's the year 2029, and a mysterious global blackout leads to decades of chaos and anarchy. And countries are basically replaced by micronations or tribes. The titular tribes of Europa.
You haven't gotten titular in too much this year.
No,
Yeah.
it's got to come organically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
We all come organic.
Oh my God. Welcome back, Casey. So glad to have you here.
Come on,
Our
man.
new podcast room's now been sullied.
Yeah.
And our protagonist Liv is
Mike and Sully.
our protagonist Liv is narrating, and it's like some short time into the future from where we're seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
There's a cool shot of her in this like rusted out building overlooking the forest.
Yeah.
And she says, my tribe's been living peacefully in the woods, but we can't stay out of the wars anymore. And now her family is scattered around and she needs to refine them.
Yeah.
And the year is 2074.
I loved these setup shots.
I did too.
They were so nice, and like you didn't get like any sort of like phony feeling. Like, obviously it's CGI'd a lot of it, but like, yeah, like the building she was in, a lot of it was real.
Yeah.
And then it's just like really great shots of like these independent little settlements like in the middle of woods, and it's like, wow, they put a lot of like work into making these look not crappy, which is
Yeah, I mean, there were so many
Nice.
practical sets that had been built.
Yeah.
And even the natural settings I mentioned to Elizabeth, like, this forest looks cool.
Yeah.
they had like all these like cliff faces that they were like going through like passageways like
Yeah.
to get to
And
wherever.
and it was just like really beautiful. Like
Yeah.
the moss was so bright green. Like it was
Yeah.
just like a saturated forest.
yeah.
Yeah. So we see her and her 2 brothers are together. This is before the part where she was narrating. And she's tending to a kill And the two boys are like kind of wrestling around, just goofing off.
Yeah.
But she hears something off in the distance. And, she calls their attention to it. And eventually this futuristic small jet flies overhead and it's trailing smoke like it had been shot at. And then it turns around and it flies like right over them and crashes somewhere in the forest nearby. And
Which I thought it was like coming for them. Like I thought it purposely did that. Like it was like a fighter jet. I didn't realize that it was just a crash.
I took the note of like, because I was kind of like, I took notes the second time I watched it. So I was like kind of like gushing over like the nice scenes. And then I'm like, oh, the CGI is not even that bad. And I'm like, well, it's okay.
Wasn't great.
Like my notes like ... I don't know.
They don't have WandaVision's budget on this show.
Yeah.
But her two brothers are Keanu and Elia. And so Keanu,
I put like girl, older boy, younger boy.
Keanu
you're right. Those are the names.
Keanu is the older one, and he wants to go check out this crash. But Liv is like, no, we're going back to the village. Basically, their whole ethos is like, we don't deal with the outside world. We don't want technology. Like, we are our own unit in the woods living with nature.
Yeah.
And so they go back and tell their father about this, who's the leader of their tribe, the Aborigines. And so the kids are stressing, like, listen, this wasn't a plane from the old world.
Yeah.
This was like something totally new.
Is it funny that like when I saw that that didn't occur to me because we've watched so many like futuristic sci-fi things that like I was just like, that just looks like a fighter jet. Like it looks like what's the Battlestar Galactica fighter jets called?
Oh yeah.
The squibs.
The squibs.
I can't remember what they're called. It doesn't
Scorpions?
matter.
X-Wing?
Maybe. I don't remember what they're called. But basically I was just like,
Star
oh,
Wars fans
whatever.
won't be happy.
Because when did it crash? I mean, when did the blackout occur?
2029.
Yeah. So like 50 or 45 years before this is going on.
So that's just weird to me that like,
What?
no, I guess I was just kind of like, well, wouldn't they have already seen stuff like that? But like these people are now, like she was obviously born in the new world.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Like it just didn't like click for me that they wouldn't have seen anything like this.
It'd be like living in the woods here and seeing like a fighter jet fly over.
Yeah.
Like an expensive
Yeah.
like fighter jet. Like, what the hell? That's not a plane.
Yeah.
Then we are introduced to another tribe, the Crows. And Lord Varvara... what?
No, nothing.
Do you have a crush on her? She approaches their leader, the Capitan of the Crows, who's also a slaver. They keep mentioning these slaves. About this craft that her people tried to shoot down.
So she's not perfect, but
I'd have a crush on her too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
if you watch more, you'll be like, oh, okay, I get it. I get it.
And she wants to go after it. And finally, he gives his blessing to go after it and promises a great reward if she's successful, retrieving this Atlantean technology. So that's apparently the tribe that's like continued to advance in technology while the others have kind of just descended into chaos.
I love this like cut though, because we come from like this village, and the village isn't like stick huts. It's, they kind of like take what has been left and like make nice structures.
Yeah.
But it's still like in the woods and it's very natural. And then you cut to this like dark concrete, like neon punk, like
Yeah.
like everyone's wearing like leather, and the Capitan is wearing like 8-inch like platform boots, and it's like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah, I noted
I'm on board.
This was like the badass fancy warrior tribe.
Yeah,
they were
right.
like a little goth,
Yeah, they have like black paint over their eyes.
Yeah.
fancy fur, electricity.
Oh yeah, the big furs.
Yeah. Makeup.
This I like.
Yeah, I
is cool.
actually made note. I was going to bring this up later. I liked a lot of like the little set designs, and there were like these cool triangular lights.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hanging above that I thought were really neat looking.
Yeah.
And so another lord that's there.
I actually took a note about other lights in this show.
Oh, really?
About
Yes.
about lights at the Origines, or like lanterns.
Oh,
They had like the little like upside down like semicircle with like the fire was like in there like a light bulb, and it was like it just looks so cool.
Yeah. I noticed all that kind of stuff too. I thought that they were really good at like building these worlds.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, it's just kind of cool. I tried to like imagine like, oh, we can get into it later.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to throw it off.
So there's another lord there of the Crows, and he's like trying to warn the captain, like this could mean war with the Crimsons. It's their territory. But he's done something to displease the Capitan, and so he's just getting beat down with his like cane as Varvara leaves.
Very cool.
And so we go back to the woods. The siblings are talking, and we find out that their mother has passed away. She was the original founder of the Origines.
Yeah.
And that evening, there's an initiation ritual for Elia, after his first successful hunt. He was the one that killed the wolf.
Yeah.
That Liv was tending to. And so he gets like a little, very simplistic tattoo on his arm. They like burn it into his skin. Not a tattoo, a brand.
Yeah. As they're doing it, the girl or the woman, I don't know.
Leah.
I called them boys, so I'm okay. I feel okay saying girl. But she's like giving a little speech, and as they're branding him with, I thought at first it was just like a metal brand. It looks like a little like ray gun. There's like wires like coming out the back.
Oh,
and
really?
like literally as they're doing that, she says something like, and we shun technology, as like they shoot like this little ray gun into his arm. I'm like, weird timing. Just make it a metal
It might
brand.
have been like some way to like just warm up the inside of it.
It wasn't like super intense. It was just funny that as she was saying
I
that.
didn't
they're
notice
like,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's part of the thing is like he needs to promise to remain free from technology, which is what brought about the end of the old world. And so, is the protagonist's name Leah or Liv?
Leah, I thought.
Oh, I thought it was Liv.
Hold on, I'll look it up right now.
Okay. Well, she eventually convinces their dad that they need to go check on this plane.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they're supposed to remain outsiders, but if someone needs their help, the other part of their ethos is that all life is one.
Mm-hmm.
And so they set out the next day and they find this plane, but the cockpit has been ejected. And as they're all kind of searching the area, Elia finds this strange black cube with kind of blue lights emanating through cracks in it, and he hides it in his pouch. And so eventually their dad and their Uncle Mark, who has a metal claw for a hand, because he had his hand cut off years ago,
and eaten.
they set out to search more, but they tell all the kids, go back to the village. We're gonna try to find this pilot.
It's Liv.
Liv? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know where I got Leah from.
Yeah, I knew I was right. I was just being humble.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you wrong or am I right? I'm just not sure.
In this case, it was both. So as they're heading back, Elia veers off and goes to put this cube in like a secret little bunker he
It's
has.
his Ariel from Little Mermaid, whatchamacallit den.
It really
Yes.
is.
That's what
Yes.
it is. It's great.
He's got like an old
Look at this
Nintendo
stuff.
Switch and like
Yeah.
an old iPhone, like all this technology
A
from
bunch
the
of
old world.
vibrators. It's great.
And all these
He's like, what are these?
newspaper clippings.
Wait, were there vibrators in there? No. That would be a strange choice for this show.
What's that word again? Dildo.
And so while he's in there, the very injured pilot calls out from the other side of this bunker. And so he goes back to get medicine. His siblings find out that he's found this pilot.
Yeah.
And so they all go back and bring him to the village, which is usually forbidden.
Yeah.
But while Dad's gone, Liv is in charge, and she demands that they help this guy. So they end up giving him medical care. He seems to be stabilizing, and Elia goes in to speak to him. And he's like, I'm looking for this cube. I need it.
Yeah.
And Elia eventually reveals that he has the cube. And he says it's a message to his people that a great danger is coming from the east. And he's asking Elia, will you help me? And he says, yes, he agrees.
Yeah.
What that means yet, we don't know.
We don't know. I won't spoil if I know or not. But I don't really.
Meanwhile, their father and their uncle have found another tribe completely slaughtered.
Yeah.
You know, they were living in some like brick
Like old-
structure.
Yeah, it looked like an old like military like concrete bunker.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they kind of retrofitted.
And so even though that tribe was supposed to be protected by the Crimsons, they had been killed by the Crows.
Yeah.
There's one lone survivor who like dies a minute later after telling them the Crows.
Yeah, yeah.
The Crows were looking for the pilot. And so when they return back to their village, Refugium,
Oh yeah.
the dad's like getting everyone ready and sends someone to help, like go find the Crimsons.
Yeah.
You know, even though we don't pay them to protect us, they'll be interested that these crows have come onto our territory.
Yeah.
But then they hear a scream and a gunshot from the forest. And so he gathers the kids inside their house to like say a little prayer thing, like, we're all born of the eternal lake. One day we will return. I actually got like a little bit emotional at this point because like you could tell the dad thought like, my kids are going to be killed right now.
Yeah.
Right,
You know?
yeah.
And so they go outside and the whole village is out there and we see all of these black cloaked figures appear on the cliff overlooking them. And it's the crows with the black paint across their eyes. And Lord Varvara steps forward as the dad is pleading with them, like, please, we have the pilot. We know that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Take him and leave. And all the crows put up like some kind of like adrenaline gas or something.
Yeah.
And they all
Yeah.
like suck it in. And then another dude steps forward and tosses a severed head down into the crowd.
Yeah, like one of the guys they sent off to go, call for help, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so cool.
And then Varvara just pulls out like a little short sword and whips it into the crowd and kills their medic.
Yeah.
And then chaos just ensues. Like people are getting fucking slaughtered left and right.
Oh my god.
Like really intense, gruesome.
Yeah.
Violent.
It was so good.
It was great. There was a moment early on in the pilot where it's just the three siblings, like the first scene of them.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth mentioned like, oh, this kind of looks like a little bit Hunger Games-ish.
Yeah.
Like, attractive, like late teenagers. And like, I was starting to get like a little bit of a young adult vibe.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I was worried about that, but it quickly got washed away.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's not like PG violence, and it's not like super, like it's well choreographed, but it's not like a beautiful dance the whole time where
Right.
it's like, oh, sword to sword. And so, like, Liv is at one point like pulls a guy off, like her brother's, and is like jabbing him like
Yeah.
repeatedly with his
Yeah.
knife, like, "Argh!" like
It
I have
was
to kill this guy.
gritty.
Yeah,
It was
very
gritty
Yeah.
violence.
Like realistic, like if a tribe of people
Yeah.
were fighting, trying to not die,
Yeah.
like, yeah, you'd stab him as much and make sure he's dead.
It's interesting because they're such like the Origines are like very you think that they're very like peaceful people, and I think that's
they're
how
like
they
hippies almost.
right, and that's kind of like how they live their lives, and they keep other people away, but like clearly they all know how to defend themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, some of them.
Well, I'm just saying, like
Yeah.
that's like they when push comes to shove, they can.
Sure,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, they got slaughtered, but like
Yeah.
it's not like they didn't know what to do at all or what a weapon
Yeah, no,
was.
they
you
killed,
know?
they killed a few crows too.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like today where like there could be like a group of pacifists like living somewhere in the city or whatever, or in the woods, but there's not other groups of people around them trying to kill them all the time.
Right,
If there
right.
were, it might not be as much of pacifists.
Well,
Yeah.
and they were hunters. They had bows
Yeah.
and guns and things.
Right.
So Keanu watches his girlfriend get murdered, like right in front of him,
Yeah.
and so he's using his bow, which he's pretty adept with.
Yeah.
Kills one of them. Liv is fighting and ends up getting stabbed in her side and then thrown down into the creek bed, like right on some rocks.
So good.
Yeah.
Looks so good.
And I mean, I knew from the narration and like previews, like she was gonna live, but like,
Yeah.
if you didn't see that, you'd be like, oh shit,
She looks like she died.
they just fucking
Yeah.
killed the main character.
That's what I said.
I kind of would have loved that. It would have been weird to like kill the only like main female character, but it would have been cool if like, oh, they just holy shit, they just killed her. But no, yeah, it was very good.
And so while all this is going on, Elia runs to the pilot, who tells him, you have to take the cube and bond with it. And
Yeah.
like the blue light opens up and it like scans his eyes for a second. And then he darts out of the tent as he's being chased by these crows.
Yeah.
And that's the last we see of him. There's one short scene later. But that night, the survivors have all been rounded up in the middle of the little village for questioning. And Varvera questions one like younger guy and just kills him, puts a sword through his neck.
That was great. That was great because you always see like the bad guys like him and Hall like, oh, I'm gonna kill somebody. But she's like, you don't know where it is, and he's like, no, I'm sorry. And she's like, okay. And then she's like pulls his head down and just slices,
Yeah.
sticks her sword right. I'm like, holy shit! Like this, this is not Hunger Games type stuff. This is
Yeah.
a little bit harder.
And then she's about to question Keanu, but his uncle like speaks up because
Yeah.
he knows he's basically sacrificing himself.
Yeah. Otherwise, they're gonna kill this kid. Like,
For
sure.
a second, I thought that he was going to lie about knowing where it was
And
try to delay them a little
yeah,
bit.
like, oh, it's here. Like, I'll take you, but you gotta let these people go and take me.
That's what I thought at first.
Yeah.
But then he's like, I know where the cube is, but it's stuck really, really far up my ass. And so she pulls out like a little knife and
Yeah.
pulls his pants down and castrates him. And then as he's screaming in pain, she kills him.
Yeah.
Which was like a courtesy at that point.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
that was almost the nicer thing to do.
And she's like, okay, bring the rest of these people to the Capitan.
Well, she like goes and like is like gonna start questioning Keanu again, and like puts her hands on his face, and you see like blood on his face,
yeah.
and I'm like, oh, that's cock blood. No. But everyone looked like, especially Keanu. Everyone looked. He was like especially good in this scene. Everyone looked so terrified. It
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah.
Like he genuinely looked like he was scared he was gonna die. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my god. Like,
Yeah.
it's nice seeing actors like we don't know. Like, oh, they're really good too. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And so she's going to take the rest of them back and leave a small force behind to search for the cube still.
Yeah.
And so, we see Elia running through the woods again. He hides in like some
Grove.
foundation
Yeah.
of like some old building.
Oh yeah.
And then the last scene is Liv gasping for air as she wakes up in the creek bed. And that was the pilot to Tribes of Europa.
Yeah.
I liked how this ended the same way Filthy Rich ended.
Did you watch that one, Casey?
I didn't see Filthy Rich.
Oh my god! It was an awful show on Fox.
Yeah.
Where this like pastor who had been like cheating on his wife and like all this stuff dies in a plane crash, and that's what you are like hearing throughout the whole episode. And then the last scene, it's him like floating among the plane wreckage in the bayou.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it zooms in and he wakes up.
Yeah.
It was awful.
I think you also mentioned that on like another episode.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah.
Awful. What did you guys think of Tribes of Europa?
Well, I'll let Casey go since
Oh.
we've actually seen it.
Yeah. I loved it.
No spoilers.
No, of course not. Come on. No, I loved it. I thought it was great. You know, this is kind of my thing anyways. Like, it's both like post-apocalyptic and not that sort of played out like, you know, wasteland type thing. It's kind of more like, cool forest tribes, but it is like this new world. And it felt not super unique, but for its genre, kind of more of a different trend than like the 150,000 like
Like a Mad Max kind of thing.
Mad Max,
Yeah.
like same as like a zombie movie, just without the zombies.
Right.
This was like a nice fresh take. I thought it was very good.
Yeah, I felt the same way. My really only complaint about the show is it was, at least for the pilot, it was a little bit predictable.
Yeah.
Like, I knew what broad strokes were coming, and there was nothing, like, incredibly unique about it, but everything they did so well. I mean, most of my notes we touched upon, like, all of the set designs, costume designs, cinematography, the acting was impressive. You know, we talked about the set pieces with the light fixtures, and I just thought they did a really good job of quickly establishing this world and, like, a couple of the little tribes without overdoing it or over-explaining anything.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was a good mix of like that post-apocalyptic sci-fi fantasy without being total shit.
Yeah.
Which is most of what we watched.
It wasn't like super dreary. It was like, oh, the world ended and like now this is this new one.
Yeah.
They still got some of the same stuff, but it's different now.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with all of that. I still felt like it was maybe a little bit too intense for me. Maybe just like that last, you know,
Fight.
like quarter of it,
Pretty brutal
of it
fight.
with like how gruesome it was.
It's my favorite part.
I know. That was your favorite part. But yes, I don't know. Like it kind of reminded me a little bit of The Walking Dead when I started to hate it with that one guy.
Negan.
Yeah. And that was just like too cruel for me. Like it was just so mean.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I didn't like it. Now I do understand that we only really saw 2 of these tribes. So how many tribes are there?
I don't think they say.
They don't say in the
'Cause
pilot.
in the beginning, like the opening credits, there are like 4 like sigils kind of.
Oh, okay.
And that's what I kind of thought looked like Hunger Games.
Yeah, I mean, I think we hear of like 4 or 5 in the pilot.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure which.
There's the Origines, the group that got slaughtered, the Crimsons, the Crows, and the Atlanteans. So 5.
so
Yeah.
the guys that got slaughtered wasn't the...
That was Little Praha.
It was just like another like settlement that were like under a larger umbrella of like, yeah, we pay these guys, so we're kind of part of their military dictatorship.
okay.
But it's,
Okay.
you know, a little more spread out than whatever.
So, like, that said, knowing that it's not really my kind of thing, I wasn't, like, super drawn in. I still think the acting was really good. And I still liked the way they built the world. Like, I think it was a good show. I just don't think it's going to be for me. But I do like, in some of these, like, dystopian future things, like, thinking about, I was starting to say before, like, I always think about, like, how, like, dystopian fashion comes about. Like,
That's
how
cool.
and why? Like, because, like, in The Walking Dead, you see it, like, right after, it, like, right as it's happening. Like, this is, like, the end of the world, and they're in it.
Right.
So they're still wearing, like, their clothes. They're raiding stores and whatever and finding, like, their things, right?
Right.
But, like, now we're so, like, 50 years into the future, and, like, the Origines are, like, you know, they're making their, like, it's, like, very, like, crude cut
Yeah. Like
things that like, they're...
animal skins, like tanned and...
They're, like, crafting that together. Like, they're figuring it. So it's, like, very, like, utilitarian.
Yeah.
Like, this is, I need, like, this is the box that will fit on my body.
But,
you know?
like, the father had, like, a cape on, and, like, on the front of the cape were, like, little, like, shells or beads or something.
Right.
So, like,
there's still, like, something...
where'd that come from?
Because they are kind of,
that.
like, I really liked the father's, like, prayer at the end. I thought that was, like, really beautiful, like... thing that he said. So, like, they really do, like, they believe in something, and so they have, like, ceremony, and, like, there's, you know, symbolism that is important to them, and I just think that's really cool. Like, at the end of the world, like humans still do that and look for that.
Right. Yeah, I was you know, we've seen many of these kinds of shows where, like, there's supposed to be a tense scene and like there's some like lame-o cookie cutter prayer that they say, but like I was surprised. I was like, oh, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
It felt
That was
real.
original. Yeah, it felt real.
It didn't feel like bull crap. It felt like, it was just like a nice thing.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like any crazy, like, our God is this God. And it was like,
Right.
we go back to the earth when we die and that's okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're family till the end. And
Yeah, and it was certainly helped by that guy's performance because he wasn't just like reading a prayer; he was like saying it in this moment where he thinks his kids are going to die, and like you felt
Yeah.
all that in his voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
Speaking of fashion, there's a similar scene in Zomboat after the zombie apocalypse where they
Hell
go to like the
yeah.
leather store,
Hell yeah.
and she comes out like pulling at like the crotch of her leather pants because they don't fit right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really fascinating the way
Cat and Joe go
things,
shopping. It's great.
things evolve after. Every few months, I'll check to see if season 2 of Zomboat has been announced, and there's
yeah.
never any news. Never any news.
It'll be back. Don't worry. It'll be back.
So I have a question though, and we only saw really 2 tribes, but I'm just like curious, like which one you would put yourself in.
Would I want to be in or would I think I belong in?
I mean, I guess you can answer both.
Well, I'd probably be like an origine.
Yeah, that's what I.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, definitely.
The crows are really cool, but also they're cool in like a TV or movie type sense. Where
Right.
it's like,
yeah,
oh,
you're
cool.
definitely an origine.
Yeah, but I'm like a freaking, I like love violence in movies and stuff, but I'm basically like a
bitch.
pussy hippie. Yeah.
I feel like I would be an origine too, but I don't know like the other tribes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably be an Atlantean.
Why? Because it sounds like they're like the winners or something.
Well, they're clearly the most intelligent, advanced race.
Wow.
See, if the crows weren't
Wow.
if the crows didn't enslave, I would probably be a crow.
Yeah, the slaving thing is a big turnoff.
That's
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
Honestly, I just can't do it.
Hot take. I think slaves are bad to have.
This is why you guys come to Try by Pilot for these blazing hot takes.
Yeah. But like I'm cool with like murder in the post-apocalyptic world. That won't bother me.
Oh, yeah.
But
Kill or
like,
be killed.
Yeah. Slaves and torture are bad, but killing is okay.
So, Casey, I'm sure you recommend the show.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish it now, like when I go home.
Yeah, I recommend it too. I mean, I think if you've listened to this podcast, you probably get a sense for if you would or wouldn't like it. It was violent. It's sci-fi fantasy, but there was a lot of positive stuff, even if you're not into those things. Elizabeth, would you recommend it?
I would recommend it, like, if this is the type of thing. Like, definitely if I watched this, I would say, Casey, you might really like this.
Yeah,
right.
But, yeah, I would. I'm just probably not going to continue watching it.
Hey, do like we do. Watch the pilot. See how you feel.
Yeah.
If this is kind of your thing, keep watching it. There's only
then,
gonna be
like,
5 more episodes.
record your review, put it out into the ether.
Whoa.
And then hire a lawyer because we're coming for your ass.
Do you think Tribes of Europa will get a second season on Netflix?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I think so.
I'll say sure.
It's good enough. A lot of the European shows I watch, like they kind of get picked up fairly frequently. I think just to get onto Netflix, it's not just like, oh, an American show, we'll put it on whatever. It's like, oh, okay, they kind of pick like probably better shows for the most part, like
Yeah.
from foreign speaking countries.
Yeah.
Oh, what language do they speak in this? Because I happened to watch it.
It's mostly German.
It's mostly German. There were other languages, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really like that part of the world too, is that, there's this,
Yeah.
there's all of the countries have been fractured. And so
Yeah.
like, they're probably somewhere in that region of
Yeah.
Germany.
Maybe
where, like,
they're in Luxembourg.
Maybe they're in Luxembourg. So they're mostly speaking German, but then like if they're meeting other tribes, they like call it in German, and if they don't answer, they call it in English. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I thought
I'm sure
that
there's
was
like
cool.
a bunch of like little micro languages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of started doing it, which I kind of feel bad about, but all the Netflix shows with their English dubbing is really good. So I watched this in English, and I'm like, I don't think they're... Well, I when I'm not doing, like, I'm not watching something for a podcast, I am easily distracted, and I like to do other stuff.
Sure.
Like, I can't
okay,
be
yeah.
doing one thing. So I'm like, I'll put it in English, then I'll actually watch it. Because if I have to watch it with subtitles, I'll have to sit down for 6 hours. And I'm like, will I just not do it then? So I'm
Yeah.
like, put on the English dub. It's still good.
Fair enough.
But I noticed I was like, okay, there's definitely not just German. 'Cause
Yeah.
I knew it was German. But
That's just something else that Bill has found to be a snob about, is like watching something with subtitles.
With the caveat that some people need subtitles, which is totally fine.
yeah.
I just think if you choose them for no other reason than you just want to hear English speaking versus another language,
Yeah.
you're a nincompoop.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I actually was the same way a lot about English dubbing because I was like, I want to hear the original actors doing it, and English dubbing is never as good.
Right.
This I'm sure is not as good, but like I said, like not having to watch the show, I'm like, I want to watch it, but I'm like kind of doing shit. So like, am I going to sit down? There's a lot of other shows that you guys did that I'm like, I'm going to watch. I've been watching those in English dubs too.
Yeah, I got to tell you.
Sorry.
I know German is supposed to be this like harsh language. Maybe it's just after watching Dark. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It sounds so good. All right. Before we head out, I was going to see. So Elizabeth and I have been watching a lot of foreign language stuff. We just finished Capitani on Netflix. Did you watch that?
I watched the pilot, yeah.
Oh, you did? What'd you think of the pilot?
I liked it. I thought it was pretty good.
You think you'll continue?
It's on my list. I have probably some shows to watch before it, but
Okay.
I could definitely see myself watching.
It's short episodes, but there are 12 of them.
Okay,
So it's not like a super
that's
fast
crazy.
series. Well, it's six hours, like these. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lupin.
Yeah, I've seen a couple episodes of that.
Okay, I figured you would probably watch that.
Yeah.
We finished that.
That's great.
And then we just finished, not a foreign language show, but we finished WandaVision. Have you watched that?
I saw the pilot. I haven't finished it though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Spoiler, I have watched a lot of the pilots lately.
Nice.
Cool.
Do you sit there with your microphone and record as if you're on the show still?
Yeah. Oh, I don't even record. I just put my microphone in front of my face and I'm like,
Just talking to himself.
oh, hey Liz, what do you think about this? Well, I like it, but I don't like the spaceships. Oh, Billy, what do you think? I think I'm smarter than you two assholes. Okay, cool, guys, cool.
This is a remarkable.
Do you guys think I'm funny?
Guys, tune into Casey's podcast.
Oh man, do I have to do that now? No, okay. Yeah, I guess you're gonna cut that out.
No, my screensaver just came on and I panicked for a second because it never happens.
Cool.
All right. Well, I was going to talk about the finale and the full season of WandaVision, but I guess we'll save that for.
Yeah.
I mean,
another
that's a
week.
show I don't really care about getting spoiled, but that's up to you if you want to spoil it for your
Well,
listeners.
no, if you've only seen the pilot,
whatever.
Elizabeth and I will talk about it in the future.
Yeah.
So next week we're going to do a double feature animation episode with The Great North, and we're going to have our son Billy on to talk about Hilda on Netflix, and then Casey will rejoin us in 2 weeks for our 3rd anniversary episode.
Huh?
Yeah.
3 years.
Wow.
So we will see you then. If you have suggestions on shows for us to watch in the meantime, you can email us at trialbypilot@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at trialbypilot. And Casey, why don't you plug your podcast?
Ooh, listen to myself and my friend Mike talk about building our own Dungeons and Dragons characters out of celebrities, mostly. We really take them to task. It's called DND, not the ampersand, but no, that's not right.
The letter, yeah.
Yeah, DND Casting Call.
Not casting couch, casting call.
Casting Call. Check it out. Listen to the most recent episodes. The first few are bad sound quality, but check them out.
And thank you to the Beats for providing our theme music.
Thanks, Beats.
Thanks, Beats.
Bye.
Bye.
So long.
Watching